Alex Azar is a part of President Trump's cabinet. He is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and on Thursday was there for the president to sign some incredibly helpful legislation that is going to mean a lot to all of us. And he's on the line right now. Alex Azar, thanks so much for coming on. Good morning.
Bill, I'm delighted to be with you. Thank you.
So, first of all, before we get into this, you're a Lebanese American. We have a very large Lebanese population up here.
I am indeed very proud to be Lebanese American. My family came over in about 1920.
Kibbeh. Is it kibbeh that is the
national dish of Lebanon? Kibbeh bisina, kibbeh naya. So you got the cooked kind, you got the raw kind.
Love
yeah,
raw.
Yeah, good stuff.
Some good olive oil and raw kibbeh.
Lebanese food.
Hey.
So, all right,
way to do it.
This was signed on Thursday.
Although I guess as a health secretary, I should caution against eating raw kibbeh.
Right. Good point.
That is funny. S2553 and S2554. This, and I never knew this even existed until this story broke, is that a pharmacist was prohibited in some cases from informing their patients that there was a more economical or a cheaper option, and that has changed.
That's right. So what was happening was insurance companies were telling pharmacists that you can't tell the patient that if they just paid cash, they could buy the drug cheaper from you than if they ran it through insurance. You might be able to get a drug for $4, but instead, if you put it through insurance, it could cost you $15, $20 as a copayment, or even more as a deductible.
So that has now this legislation changes all of that. Now, is that immediate?
It is. So the president back in May called for a ban on these so-called gag clauses. Within a week, we told Medicare drug plans, you better not be doing this. And now, thanks to actually a bipartisan effort in response to the president's call, they've outlawed these gag clauses right away in commercial plans and in Medicare. I saw them sign it. It's in effect. Go ask your pharmacist if you can pay less out of pocket for your drugs.
And do you think pharmacists will be proactive with this?
Well, I don't know if they'll be proactive, but I'll tell you the pharmacists are just delighted that this legislation passed because they play such an important role with patients, advising and coaching. And they don't want to be gagged in terms of being able to tell the patient about these better, cheaper options for them.
Yeah, it's amazing that this even was allowed to happen when you think about it. And you know, I get it. So if you're going to buy Sudafed, the pharmacist was always able to say, I got to tell you, same product, you can save $5 by getting the white label, or that's kind of an old...
The generic
brand. So that's what they would do with those items, but now they're going to be able to do it with all medicine.
That's right, and what we're also trying to we're improving the number of generics. You know, we approved in 2017 more generic drugs than ever in history. July was the highest rate of approval ever in history before. Patients saved $8.8 billion in 2017 alone from those approvals. So it's that kind of discussion. It's going to your pharmacist saying, is there a less expensive option for me? Is there a generic drug available that I could take?
Are insurance companies trying to put out the mom and pops, the individually owned pharmacies across the country? Because it sure does seem that way.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do firmly believe that the pharmacist-patient relationship is a really important one. So many of us rely on that pharmacist as our coach, our advisor, really probably someone we interact with most of all in the healthcare system. So it's a very important relationship for people.
And, you know, oftentimes the pharmacist knows more about the medicine than the doctor who just prescribed it to you.
Well, they're deeply trained in it. That's that's why they get those PharmD educations, is to know these products very deeply and, how they work with each other. And I certainly rely on my pharmacist when I go into the store.
Especially for side effects.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Alex Azar is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. I only have about a minute left, of course, part of President Trump's cabinet. You were also on, I'm going to throw this in quickly if I can, on Ken Starr's team and dealt with Whitewater. Did you work with Brett Kavanaugh?
Oh, I did. I've known Brett for close to 30 years. We went to law school together, and we've worked together and been friends for close to 30 years. Just a wonderful man, and I'm so delighted that he's now sitting on the Supreme Court of the United States. He will do the American people proud being there.
Now, you feel he'll be that independent that he says he can be?
Brett will always follow the Constitution and laws of the United States as his conscience and his intellect guides him. He will be independent of all other influence, and he'll be guided by that as his North Star. It
had to be tough for you to watch this process go on the last month or however long it dragged on. It was tough to watch.
Feels like that.
Yep.
Well, I'm just delighted that somebody I can only speak to what I know about Brett Kavanaugh and the man I know. I'm delighted to see up on the Supreme Court.
Well, I'm delighted that my pharmacist can now tell me there's a cheaper option.
Yes.
And nice job, Alex Azar. Thank you for taking the time this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right. We'll break and come back here at WIBX.